Hi, kitchen kings and queens. Okay, we're doing another kitchen quickie. So, I had my 43rd birthday on Monday, and ever since then, I just really haven't been feeling well. So, to kind of make myself feel better, I don't want something really heavy for dinner. I can't really eat anything heavy for dinner. I don't know, maybe this is God's way of slimming me down, which I'm not too sad about. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a dish that I talked about before called screpetti in brodo or scrapette in bussa, which is the way it's said in Abruzzo, I believe. I'm 99.9% sure. Um, but basically, what it is these crepes, which the inspiration was I realized that I had made some crepes before. So these crepes, and they're not the best looking crepes, and that's great because we're not going to need them to really be the best looking. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take them and we're going to put them in this new Bourgeois French skillet that I got, and we're going to melt some Parmesan cheese, which I'm going to grate also in the new to me food processor that I got. So I'm going to grate the Parmesan. We're going to cover it. We're going to heat it up in the pan, and then we're going to roll it into like a little log. Okay, and once it's rolled up like that, we're going to cut it into like what will look like little snail shells. Okay, so it'll be little coils of this crepe layered with the freshly grated Parmesan cheese. So the Brodo part, or the imbusa, is going to be my homemade chicken stock. And I will do another episode of my homemade chicken stock, how I make it, uh, when probably pretty soon, because I have a chicken carcass uh, from Costco. So I'm just gonna use that to, oh boy, okay. I'm gonna use that to do this stock, or to make a new stock. And I think that freshly made stock is great. There's really no comparison for it. That stock is all from my freezer. So whenever I get either one chicken or a couple carcasses of chicken, actually, I'm going to put this back over the crepes. Whenever I get a chicken carcass or a couple of them build up or some vegetable scraps, so whenever you're cooking, don't throw away your onion scraps. Don't throw away your tips of your celery. Don't throw away those ugly carrots. Put it all together. Throw it in your freezer. Take your cheese rinds. So, for example, I'm probably not going to grind up to this part yet, but if I was to grind, interesting. At some point, I opened this to grate some of the cheese, but it looks like it's sealed back pretty well. So that's good. Okay, well, I'm going to just cut it open. But when you get to the rind end of the cheese, okay, you can cut that part off and save that with all your scraps. It makes an incredible stock. It really adds like a whole nother level of richness. So even though I'm not going to use this all, so that I have this for when I do make the stock, I'm going to cut off that rind. Okay. And I'm going to save that with some vegetable scraps. Okay, so I'm going to cut about half of this, and I'm going to put it into the food processor over here. And I have it fitted with the food or the Parmesan blade, which I'll show you once I'm done processing. Sometimes the piece gets stuck in there. Sometimes I use that as like a chef snack, but I really need as much of the Parmesan as I can, so I'm going to try and grind as much of it as possible. Okay, so those thicker pieces at the top, that's fine. We're just going to pop them in there. Okay, so this is the blade. And you'll notice that there's these, just like on the box grater when you're doing the fine grate, they're like that. So this, if you can get this for your food processor, it's a great resource, especially if you use a lot of Parmesan cheese. It just makes it so easy to grate the cheese. Okay, so now I have a nice amount of Parmesan cheese. I'm gonna find a little bowl, put this in, and then we'll move on. So I'm gonna use some of this to make the screpetti or crepes, and then some of it I'm gonna add to the soup when I serve it to myself. Okay, so put those back. Okay, and we're gonna put that aside, and we'll use that later. Okay, so I'm going to heat up the pan now, and I'm going to let it heat up, okay, because I want to show you a technique to make metal, stainless steel specifically, non-stick. Okay, so I'm actually going to take one of my little bowls here. I'm going to fill it with a little bit of water so that I have that off to the side. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these crepes. We're going to put a little, there's just a couple drops of water in here, so I'm going to wipe them out. And we're going to put some spray in there. I'm going to just use Pam today, okay? So we're going to put a little Pam in there, and then we're going to put the crepes on top. We're going to melt the Parmesan, and then once it's melted, we're going to roll them up, and then we're going to cut them up, and then hopefully by that point our broth should be heated up as well. Okay, so I think to the broth I'm going to add a little bit of parsley. I just think that'll kind of give it a little freshness and taste. Okay, so these crepes, I will do, I have so many ideas, but when I do my multi-kitchen center appliances, we'll do the recipe that I use for this, because that recipe was actually from that cookbook. I have never seen a recipe that was specifically for dinner crepes. So most of the time the crepes are just a generic crepe recipe, or they're geared towards the sweet crepes. These were actually savory crepes. The recipe was called dinner crepes. So I think that's a really cool recipe to have, and I think that will be really good. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm only gonna use, because these will, oh, you know what, I'll use them all. I have 3. It'll just be really crepey soup. And this is a great way to reuse crepes if you have them. So I'm gonna check my pan here. Okay, we're not quite there. So what you're looking for is when you splash the water onto the pan, the beads will dance around. That's when you know that your pan is heated up enough to where when you add your fat, and you could add any fat, you could add butter. The butter will kind of burn, so maybe you want to use clarified butter. In fact, maybe I'll do that. Oh, that's right. I moved everything from my pantry. Oh no, it's here. Okay, sorry, I'm stretching. So I think I will use clarified butter instead of this pan. I don't really like using the pan. I pretty much have pan for when I grill to add to the grill grates. Okay. So yeah, we'll use that. Okay, we're getting there. They're starting to dance, but they're not quite there. Okay. So I'll put a little thing in there. So we'll heat up our butter, or our pan will be hot enough. We'll put the crepe in. We'll put the Parmesan on. We'll let it melt. And then once it's done, we'll roll it. We'll put the next one in. And by that point, our broth or brodo should be boiling. Okay, so let's just check this one more time. Ooh, I think we're there. Yes, we are there. Okay. So, and just so if you're keeping track of the temperature, I'm at like a medium. And I just don't really think that you ever need higher than medium unless you're bringing things to a boil. So for the other pan, for the broth, that I do have to high because I want the liquid to boil. Okay, so I'm going to put my crepe in. I'm going to put my cheese on the outside or on the inside. And you want this is all there is in the soup. So you want kind of a generous amount. Okay? So that's probably pretty good. So I think we're going to take that one out because we don't want to burn the crepe. Okay. Put in the next one. And add our cheese. And, when it's all rolled up, it's going to have residual heat too. Okay. So we're rolling up our screpetti here. And then we're not going to cut them yet. We're just going to kind of leave them like this. Okay. Because we want them to be able to, kind of sit and firm up so that they don't break apart. Wow, I think I may have to grate some more Parmesan. Okay. So again, just going to roll this and pick whatever the ugliest side is. Start there and roll. Okay. You kind of want to get like a tight roll because you want it all to stick together. And the cheese is kind of the glue that keeps it together. Okay, so there's that. All right, and we are done. Okay, so how's that for a quick meal? I mean, that's quicker than I could have imagined. All right, so again, you want to roll it tight, like you're rolling a cigar. Not that I've ever rolled a cigar, but you want to roll it tight like that. Okay, make sure it's all together. And then once they're all together, and they sit for a little bit. And you know what? We're going to cut off the ends here just because they're a little straggly. And this will give us really nice, screpetti. And I'm actually going to roll these up. So now they have all this residual heat in this parchment paper. Okay, so our soup is coming along. And it's just about boiled. So we're going to be ready for this soon. Okay. And let's see. You know what? I guess I'll grate some more Parmesan. And I guess I am going to grate the whole thing because, you know, I need Parmesan for other things too. So we're going to pop this back in. The sink is very clean. Don't worry. And we're going to just grate this. Okay. We do have a little chef's bite here. That's wonderful. And we can add this back to that bowl. Okay. And I'm going to take this and I'll put it in little containers. Like I have this lovely little cheese shaker here that I usually have it in. So that'll be good. Okay, but do you see how like non-stick the pan is now? I will have to clean the edges. Again, if you saw my previous videos, this is one of those disc bottom pans. And this is one of those problems of those disc bottom pans. So if you see here, see how it got burnt around the edges? That's because the heat licks up. Even I didn't have the flame anywhere near the height of this. Okay, so our soup is boiling, so I'm going to turn that down. We're going to chop up our screpetti here and put our soup together and show you the final result. And they, you know, they couldn't come apart in the soup. They're still going to be beautiful. They're going to be like little ribbons of gold in a golden broth. So, you know, it's not a fancy soup. This is a very simple peasant soup. It comes from Abruzzo, and it's Abruzzo is a very rural area. There's a couple of cities there, but they're not big cities. Okay, there's no Milan or Venice or even Genoa. Okay, so we're going to take our screpetti. The biggest city there's Pescara, there's what else? L'Aquila, that's the capital. So there are some bigger cities, but they're not huge cities. Okay. So there's our soup. Here's what it looks like in the pot. Okay. We're going to put it into here. And, you know, it's a nice little mix of things. There's some that are together, and there are some that are uncurling. But it looks delicious. Okay. Oh, guess I should turn this off. All right, so I'm just gonna garnish it with a little bit more Parmigiano, and that's it. Simple soup. And this soup, for me, depending on, and I hope that you keep these things in your pantry, this soup was totally a pantry on-hand soup that I made. I had the crepes already made. They hold up really well. I will say next time I will vacuum seal them before I freeze them. I think that will preserve them a little bit better. I have the Parmesan. I have stock always on hand just because it's really good. You could get better than bouillon if you don't have stock. That's a good backup thing to have in your pantry. But, that's all there is to it. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you try this. And I hope you have a great weekend. All right. Bye, Kitchen Kings and Queens.